What is going on, everybody? Welcome to week number 8 preview video of our Big 12 Team Builder Dynasty. In year number 5, we are in the second week of conference play. If you guys missed the last episode in week number 7, it was a doozy. We had a lot of great games. Unfortunately, Camu loses again in conference play. McAllen took care of business. Ardmore beat on Odessa State by 14. Shreveport in a close game against Midland State. Amarillo pulled it within 7 against ACU. Denver Tech destroyed Broken Arrow. And then Nebraska State pulls off the upset over Little Rock. So that's just a little bit of a review there. Upper right-hand corner, you guys can find week number 7. Click that link if you have missed it. And if you guys are ready to make your picks for week number 8, the picks form is in the description as well as a pinned comment below. So with all the housework out of the way, let's get right into the preview of these matchups. And then after that, we're going to go straight into recruiting. Just kind of a crash course of teams that I'm interested in showing. I know that in the past we've done like 3 teams, a group of 3 teams, but I'm going to do something a little bit different for Wednesday videos going forward. Try to change it up a little bit because we do run short on time with Wednesday videos. There's a lot of things to cover with 12 teams that you guys are all having your vested and rooting interests in. So what do you say we get going on it? So we got Camu against Midland State. This is a game where I don't think that Camu has the guns. I don't think that they have the bullets in the chamber in order to take down a Midland State team that's just really, really good on all sides of the football. I mean, we can see that they're really good on pass offense, number 1 in the nation. Their rushing defense is solid at number 6. Obviously, when you're doing a lot of simulating in this game, it seems like user teams always have a lot of good rush defenses, but total defense is very solid at number 32 overall. Pass defense, you can get them on the pass a little bit. Total offense, number 2. So Midland State, just really good all across the board here. I don't see how Camu is going to get this thing done, especially on the road. Kent Collins, Claude Gray, McKinley Harris, Colton Yo, you name it. Midland State's got it. Jameel Carter not being used. Harold Reed Jr. not getting into the games. Bud Warner is just old. I'm taking Midland State for sure. ACU against Nebraska State, the number 3 team in the nation against number 22. Jordan Lashley is visiting, one of a custom recruits. And ACU is just looking really good. And you know what's funny? Because every time anybody ever doubts Nebraska State, they end up being the troll team. You know? Trolls live underneath bridges. Well, Nebraska State, these prairie dogs live under their little holes and they go unnoticed for a while, and then everybody's dogging them. And then all of a sudden they pop up and say, oh, hey, we're here. We're a relatively good program, and we sometimes spring upsets on people. So they come up out of nowhere when you least expect them. I just don't see it with this game either. I know that Little Rock was kind of a flash in the pan. They had a really good game. They forced Gunnar Rivers to throw 3 interceptions that really won them this game, or won them that game. I don't think that they can do the same thing against ACU. Their running attack is just much improved since last season. Actually, since they've rarely ever run the football. Now they're kind of going to a more balanced attack with David Danowski, a more power runner. Hassan Bonner was a little more speed. They got a 1-2 punch in the backfield, and plus all their receivers that are really solid. The defense is still good. You can see the numbers up there on the board. Nebraska State's a pretty good team. User advantage a little bit. It's going to help Nebraska State in this game, but I don't see them getting the W. I'm taking the number 3 team in the nation, ACU. This game right here could get wild. Number 5 McAllen against number 18 Shreveport. Both teams 5-0. Tons of storylines in this game. Shreveport's at home. It's a tough place to play, but McAllen, they've got Harkless Blair, and then they've got that 1-2 punch with Wade and Buckley, the 2 running backs. Pretty decent passing game as well. Even though it's 102, they still can get the yards that they need through the air if they need to. Of course, they rely more on the rushing attack. Shreveport has been that type of team for many, many years in this dynasty, but they're kind of going a little bit to the way of the passing attack with Rasheed Davis at quarterback, something that they haven't had in many, many years in this series, in this dynasty. So I don't know who's going to win this game. This is a very, very tough one. Shreveport's always tough at home, Those fans are going to be rowdy again, like they are every week. They could be playing Central Michigan. They could be playing teams like McAllen. It doesn't matter. Shreveport's always a mess. It's always rowdy out there. But that defense for Shreveport kind of gives me an edge to pick them, I think. But I'm going to go with McAllen. I'm going to be kind of the lame loser here and not take the upset, so to speak. I'm going to take McAllen just because of that Denver Techian style of offense that Leroy Jackson is doing here, is employing with Harkless Blair, Buckley, and Wade. They're too good on offense, even though Shreveport can hang with Rasheed Davis in that defense. Next game up, number 1 against number 2. Again, two teams that are 5-0, Ardmore and Denver Tech. Two hated and historic rivals. If you guys want to know some lore here, Denver Tech, think Ohio State. Ardmore, think of Michigan, right? The colors seem to match up for Ardmore with Michigan. But Denver Tech has always been that more established school. Michigan, you know, they've always been pretty good. They've always held their own. They've always been a very solid program, a very good program, kind of like Ardmore. But Ardmore just kind of works their way through the seasons, you know. Sometimes they go 9-3, sometimes they go 10-2, 8-4. It's a good program, but Ardmore is losers in this series as a whole. Up until recently, Ardmore has been able to take over that and kind of take it to Denver Tech here. But this one's going to be tough, guys. This one's going to be tough. Alex Matkovich is, again, another year older, shooting for that Heisman. He's having a Heisman caliber season. I mean, look at the defense here for Denver Tech. Number 58 against the pass. Number 2 against the rush. Rush offense, pass offense is all solid. Our defense, number 1 against the run, to stopping the run, but really bad against the pass. And what's Matkovich going to be doing? He's going to be slinging it all over the field. Stanfield against Matkovich. In that matchup, who are you taking? That's the question you have to ask yourself. And honestly, I'm going to pick myself here just to save face. But if you were smart, you might take Denver Tech in this matchup, okay? Because we might be national champions of last season, but that was last season. The classic bounce-back game, Little Rock against Broken Arrow. Little Rock ended up losing against Nebraska State. We had just mentioned that before. Number 1 in total defense. Okay, that's all you need to know. Because Uba sucks on offense. They are absolutely terrible. Lamont Christian can't complete a pass. Like, Lamont Christian's the quarterback going up against this number 1 total defense in Little Rock. If you smell an upset, kudos to you. You're going to get an extra 3 bonus points that nobody sees coming. If you take Uba, you're a madman. I'm taking Little Rock in this one. There's no way that they're going to lose 2 straights. They're too good of a team, and especially to Broken Arrow at home. And last but not least, we have Odessa State, number 14, against number 21, Amarillo. Odessa 4-1, Amarillo 3-2. And this one's kind of a cooler matchup to me because of the storylines that have taken place with these two schools. Obviously, we know about the Vicente Galarza issues. We know all about what he's been doing with Odessa, the connections with Odessa State, and the connections with Amarillo and McAllen. Like, Vicente Galarza is, for all intents and purposes, he's a player. You know what I mean? He's a swinger. He's moving all over the place, trying to get deals, trying to cut deals with all these recruits and these other players and these coaches. Like, but nothing's been confirmed. Nothing's been confirmed. But there is that cloud hanging over both of these teams' heads. It's just a matter, to me, of which team is going to be less distracted. Odessa State coming off of a loss to Ardmore where they were on the road. They had a lot going on mentally, emotionally with that game. Darnell Savage and Paris Austin going head-to-head at each other prior to that game. And, of course, in the offseason when Savage was being recruited. And then you get Amarillo with Brock Musselman being in the news with the Galarza connection, with the crimes. These two programs are kind of in some cloudy area right now. So there's a lot on the line with this matchup. And if you can get a win, it's going to allow you to breathe a little bit, to take that sigh of relief to say, oh, Okay, we can hit the reset button. Our fans are happy. We've moved on to 4-2 if you're Amarillo, 5-1 if you're Odessa. This game is a pivotal matchup because these two teams are not at the top of the Big 12. If you're going up against ACU, per se, or Ardmore, your odds are not in your favor. But these type of games right here, Amarillo against Midland, Amarillo against Odessa, Amarillo against Shreveport, those type of games, those are big for these middle tier type of schools. It really is going to allow you to set yourself apart. So who am I picking? Who am I picking here? I don't think Nate Galveston is the answer. I also don't think that Johnny Johnson Jr. is really that special. He's good, but he's not a special player to push them over the top. Backup quarterback Pat Dowdell isn't anything great either as a former athlete moving to quarterback. I guess I got to take Amarillo, but it's on the fence for me. It's on the fence for me. I really do like the Paris Austin connection here between Johnson Jr. and him. Other than that, Odessa State doesn't have much of a running game. Amarillo, they've got some really good receivers, some really good skill position players, but it all depends on what Galveston's going to do. If he has a good game, they'll win. If he's not great, then there's nothing to go forward with Amarillo. They're not gonna win this game. If it all hangs on Galveston. Got to get the football to your skill position players. I mean, you could be a bad quarterback and just allow your skill positions players to take over. If you can't get them the ball, then you're not going to shoulder the load. Galveston's not that type of quarterback to shoulder the load. Got to get the ball to your skill position players. Let them do the work. I think ultimately that's what's going to end up happening anyway. I'm going to take Amarillo in this matchup. I think you should too. So with the preview out of the way, just giving you guys a little bit of an update here in the top 25. Of course, Denver Tech is #1, and they are ranked very highly with 37 first place votes. Ardmore only getting 22, ACU with 1, and Florida State is also getting 1 vote. McAllen is #5, and we currently have 9 teams that are undefeated. Midland State drops by 6. They go from 5 all the way to 11, and they're just ahead of Ohio State. We got Little Rock at the #13 spot. They also moved down 7 spots after a loss to Nebraska State. Odessa State moves down only 4, so they're not punishing them that harshly. Michigan at 15. Shreveport checking in from unranked because of the win. They jump to 18th, and then to round it out, we have Amarillo and Nebraska State. 21 and 22. Others receiving votes. There is nobody else receiving votes for the Big 12. So if we just did a little bit of a count, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 teams that are ranked from the Big 12. Heisman watch time, guys, and of course, Alex Matkovich is in first place. 14-17, 155, and 5 scores. Was not asked to do a whole lot against Broken Arrow, but when he did, he ended up scoring a ton. He had 19 carries for 159 and those 5 scores. And then we've got Andres Buckley moving up the charts here, 25 carries for 229 and 2. Yeah, this is going to be a tight race. We got Chris Robeson, 417 yards against Texas, 3 total. But Matkovich is clearly the favorite. Clearly the favorite. I mean, even if we just look at his numbers here, 11 touchdowns, 0 picks. And I don't think he's had any fumbles thus far. Rushing fumbles, yep, 2 actually, but 10 rushing touchdowns already. 10 double digits in rushing touchdowns already as a quarterback. I mean, that's amazing. That's simply amazing. 21 touchdowns and 2 turnovers for the quarterback. And of course, Matkovich is right there for offense. Then Adonis Caesar checking in with ACU, a sack, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, 2 tackles for losses against Amarillo. They just could not contain this beast. Something we haven't really done ever in these preview videos just for the sake of time. But we're going to look at some season stats and just get a little bit of an update and see who's performing well, who has to get it going, to get their team back on track. But we can see just at quarterback here, just through passing yards alone, Kent Collins is leading the way with 1,800 yards, 1,600 for Joe Russell, the senior. Stanfield checking in at third. Johnny Johnson Jr. is actually surprising me. He's in fourth, ahead of Rasheed Davis. And as well as Rasheed Davis is getting credit for playing, Johnson Jr. is technically playing a little bit better. I mean, he's got 1 interception. That's amazing to me. So maybe I was dogging Johnny Johnson Jr. for no reason. Really no reason. And we see that the quarterbacks here, they're playing really well for their Big 12 teams. I mean, Jace Freeman, not too great. Shinosky, terrible. Terrible. 3 touchdowns and 7 picks. That's simply not acceptable. That is awful. That kind of stuff gets you to lose your job. 96 of 152. What's the percentage on that? 63%. He is the lowest passer outside of Kent Collins, basically because he's got a ton of attempts, though. And Johnny Johnson Jr., who's not, again, that great of a quarterback. I'm going to say it, even though he's got 11 and 1. I'm going to say it. I think it's more about the offense. But Shinosky, I mean, that to me would signal that you got to lose your job. I mean, Lamont Christian, 10 touchdowns, 4 picks. He has a better ratio in that regard than Shinosky does. That's pretty brutal. All right, let's take a look at the rushing yards. And you know what? Here's the quarterback, Alex Matkovich, 578 yards. He's ahead of Harkless Blair. So as much as we talk about Harkless Blair's running ability, Matkovich is right up there. And again, with those double-digit touchdowns, he has the most touchdowns rushing than all of the Big 12 at quarterback. That's saying something. Seidel Riggins, they love to run the football, and he's 1 behind. Buckley has been loving to run the football. He's got 9. Look at these averages. 7.1, 7.3. Like, these are Reggie Bush, amazing. Maybe Ricky Williams. I mean, that's what we're really looking at here with Riggins and Buckley. And maybe this might be a high. I'll have to look. I'll have to look at that. Maybe you guys will know that in the comments section, but you know, these are obviously the 2 best running backs in the entire Big 12. You could make a case for an Isaiah Green as well, but you know, I'm super impressed with those 3 guys. If I had to make a Mount Rushmore of them, I'd be Green, Buckley, Riggins, Danowski, and just for sake, I'd be putting Hargrove up there. Receiving numbers, they're okay. They're all right. I'd like to see a little bit more from the receiving side of things, especially in the Big 12. They're pretty much on pace to have about 800, 900 yards receiving seasons. Paris Austin being the best receiver here right now as far as yards are concerned. Receptions, I think he leads the way. Nope, Alex Jefferson with 34 to 33 for Paris, but those yards are pretty special. 541, 6 scores. Buchanan Simmons with 7. Hunter, Austin, and Savage. I mean, look at Darnell Savage right now. 21 average yards per reception. 6 scores, 19 catches, and 402 yards. If you want big play, it's big play Darnell Savage, like, all day. Like, he's been just great for us. Jason Wilson has been good again in his sophomore season at 6'5", 229. He's basically like a tight end running 4.5 speed. Travis Jackson, Roy Hall. We know all these names. We see him in the box score. We see him playing on Saturdays, but we just don't really know often how well they're playing, actually. But Quan's having a good season with 330 and 4. Got some good receivers in the Big 12. Claude Gray in a freshman season, he's pretty much having a Darnell Savage type of year, but not as many touchdowns. 19 catches, 318. And then, of course, Willie Nelson has 4 touchdowns himself as a freshman. So, yeah, this receiving core for Ardmore is going to be something nice here in the next few years. Defensive stats, there's just a lot to cover defensively, so I like to always look at tackles for losses, sacks. I like to look at turnovers and big plays on defense. If you just look at pure tackles, it doesn't really tell the whole story. But we got a lot of defensive good players here for Broken Arrow, and this is kind of coming from that Todd Orlando era. But we see Mark Barber there. We got Nick Kilpatrick. Let's see, Justice Grant, Jeremy Terrell. Like, Broken Arrow's got a young defense that's gonna be good for a long time. At tackles for losses, Levi Jones, Justice Grant, Jonathan Hamilton, the end, Drew Howe, Aaron Marshall, Derek Simmons, Mark Barber's there again, Jeremiah Pope. I mean, there's some names that we don't really see a whole lot of. And we see a lot of these because a lot of times teams are passing and they get dropped for loss. Jeremiah Pope was 7. Marshall Jennings Hoyt, 5. Hamilton, 7. Russell Link, we see a little bit of him. Colby James, Florencio Woolridge. Just a lot of familiar names here. Boris Beef, James Jameson. How about interceptions? David East for Nebraska State. Did he have 2 in the last game? I know he had 1 that was really big for Nebraska State over Little Rock. Josh Miller, the freshman from Florida. Ardmore's got 3 picks in 2nd place in all of the Big 12. And then Nathan Del Greco's got 2. This guy has hands of stone, and somehow he's got 2 picks. Vickers, Kelly, very underrated safety. Ezekiel Picard, yeah, Dylan Bowers, some pretty good defensive names right there. So that's going to pretty much round us out for defense. So with recruiting, guys, we're just going to do something a little bit different in today's episode. I'm just going to cover custom recruits, and I have something special that I'm going to reveal to you guys. I have high school statistics. So all these guys are seniors right now, believe it or not. They're not just waiting around for colleges to recruit them. They're actually playing football still in their high school regular season. So I've got statistics that are based on a subscriber, a longtime subscriber, and good friend of mine. I would say that Sequestral is a friend of mine. He has a Discord, and basically, which he can link if you ask for it. If you'd like to be a part of that Discord, he will link that Discord in a reply. Basically what he does is he takes all these custom recruits once we have them created and put into this dynasty, like Daniel Monroe, Kentrell Huggins here, Demarion Foreman, puts all these players into his own team builder type of dynasty, but it's based off of a high school and other high schools within Big 12 country. So like for Demarion Foreman from Alabama, he would be playing for a high school out in Alabama. Huggins in Houston, Texas. Monroe for Texas. I would think that those 2 players are on the same team. Not totally positive on that, but all I do know is that it's a really cool concept. And basically what they do is they just simulate those games. He watches the games, he supplies me with the statistics updates of the week that he just watched. And a lot of the other guys in that Discord are helping him out with that. And it's basically a big community effort. This is something that I've wanted to do for a very, very long time, especially with the website that just never really materialized. Just super busy. It's really hard to manage and take care of. But basically, I wanted to give you guys updates and follow your recruits. I wanted to give you guys updates on how they're doing in high school, like what's going on with them, like create some storylines as well. It's tough because of the fact that, again, you need a community effort for this thing. And, you know, the people out there, they want uploads. They want the series to come out and more and more and more and more and more. And to try to meet that demand, plus all the work that goes into it with a 12-team team builder dynasty is very, very difficult. So that's why I'm getting help. And so now we've got statistics. We've got statistics to supply for you guys. And what do you say we get right into it? So Daniel Monroe here in first place, 6'3", awesome player. He's just insane. He's so good. He's so good. He's currently got 23 solo tackles, 18 tackles for losses, 9 sacks, a pass defended, a fumble recovery, and 1 touchdown. So you want to talk about big plays. You want to talk about big plays on defense. It's going to come through Daniel Monroe. He's the #1 defensive end. Might even be the best prospect that there is. Have to confirm that if we go to the recruiting board. But he's at least top 5. At least top 5. And he's just amazing talent, a great player at 271 pounds. I'm glad that he's in first place for Ardmore. I really am. And when we look at his visits right now, week 13, we got to compete against Midland State. They are right behind us. They're coming up in week 11. They could easily snatch him away from us, and then we have Amarillo, who is Portugal's favorite team. This is the custom recruit for Portugal. It's going to get tight. It's going to get tight. It's going to get sticky. I hope that we get Danny Monroe. He's a beast. It's going to be tough, though. Moving on to Kentrell Huggins, 42 catches, 729 yards, 4 scores, and a rushing touchdown. I mean, this guy, number 1 receiver, is currently looking at Amarillo. We look at his visits here. We are actually week 13, so we're right ahead of Amarillo, so this is kind of cool. We get week 13 visit here for Kentrell. We get another visit in that same week for Danny Monroe. I like it. I like it a lot. Demarion Foreman, he's looking like he's gonna go to Alabama, and it's gonna be hard to let him go, guys. I was really hoping that we would be able to go ahead and sign this guy and get him on our team, but you know, he's a tough one. He's a tough one to grab, especially when he's right in the hotbed there for the best program that there is, right? It's Alabama. It's Alabama. Demarion Foreman can throw. He's an athlete. He is not just only a halfback. He's registered as a running back here, but he can do it all. 32 of 44, 73% passing percentage. 1 pick, 4 touchdowns, 351 yards, 1 interception. I already mentioned that. 77 carries for 482 yards, 7 scores. It's nuts. It's nuts. If you want him as a receiver, 13 catches, 429, and 4 touchdowns. Demarion Foreman can do everything. Can do everything. And he is going to be an absolute beast for Alabama. And I hate saying it that we might have to just let him go, but it's looking that way. He's got a week 11 visit to Alabama, and it's nearing the end of that green. We've got a little bit of a sliver there. I think he's gone. Nathan Arbaugh, 615 points away from Bowling Green. The 6'7" tight end wants to go to Bowling Green. No, man, we're going to utilize you. Come over here to Ardmore. You want to win national titles? That's what place to do it. He's currently playing better than tight end custom recruit Braxton Austin Jr. Arbaugh's got 39 receptions, 378, 4 touchdowns, and he's a good blocker as well. At 6'7", he's got 20, count it, 20 pancakes as a senior in high school. Nathan Arbaugh is the real deal, and between him and Braxton Austin Jr., I'm taking Nathan Arbaugh for sure. He can do everything. He's not just a one-trick pony. But between us and Bowling Green and these other teams, I'm hoping that we can make a late-time push for him. No other team builder team other than Denver Tech is in on this guy. And currently we have a visit here in week 13. So it's a little bit later. It's kind of funny. So we've got Arbaugh, Foreman, Huggins, Monroe. They're all coming in week number 13. If we can get there. If we can get there. Currently, the only teams looking at Jordan Lashley, we've got Broken Arrow that's kind of contending here for his services. Oklahoma State is the favorite right now. They're down by 560 points, and you know what? It sucks because I think he's going to Oklahoma State. I hate saying it. We're not really having a lot of luck with our recruiting this season. Guys are just kind of going off on a wayward path here to say, no, I don't want anything to do with the Big 12. Like, we're going hard at these guys, and they're just not wanting to come over to the Big 12. I don't know if it's a playing time issue or what, but he's looking like he's going to go to Oklahoma State. He's from Oklahoma. You would think he wants to go to Broken Arrow, but I think Broken Arrow is just so bad that it doesn't help our cause to try to get Jordan Lashley. And the guy is just absolutely balling out right now. 49 solo tackles, 11 tackles for losses, 4 sacks, 5 defended passes, a forced fumble, and 2 picks. Coverage linebacker, but he can still come up and make some tackles. At 6'4", you better hope that this type of player can make some tackles with that big body. And it looks like he does. Next custom recruit, Taylor Mickens, and he looks like he wants to go to UCF. Our only hope here is Amarillo. I would put some more points on him, but we don't need him. We don't need Taylor Mickens. We just really don't. We got David Tomsha. We got some other quarterbacks that we can bring in. It sucks, but, you know, being down by 2,200 points, it's not going to happen. Nebraska State's not going hard after him. Camu's not going hard after him. Only Amarillo for Big 12. and UCF looks like he's going to land. He's going to land out there. But Taylor Mickens having himself a good year. 54 of 77. That's 70%. That's a pretty good number. 901 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 picks. So the passing is not too great, but the carrying is where Taylor Mickens is his best. It says pocket passer, but he's more of a runner a little bit. 101 carries, 771 yards, 17 touchdowns, 1 reception, and 32 yards and a touchdown. So he's kind of used as a little bit of a gadget type of guy there. And he also was injured for the first 3 weeks of the season. And to put up those numbers, he's playing catch up a little bit, try to average out his season stats, but he's having himself a great year. Mateo Garcia has locked us out, and we're currently the number 5 team on his board, and we can't even try to unlock this and get back in the lead here. So McAllen looks like they're gonna go ahead and try to land this guy, Mateo Garcia. He seems like a good fit, the power back. He's going to be a good one, especially in that Leroy Jackson offense, and his number is currently 271 yards, 5 touchdowns, only 2 fumbles. I like Mateo Garcia. I wish that we would have gone harder in the beginning to go after him, but it's looking like he's loving McAllen right now. Oliver Price from Ardmore, Oklahoma. This is the brother of Shane Price, current outside linebacker. He's 5'9". 5'9", more of a slot type of receiver. They say he's possession. To me, that means slot. But he's looking at Iowa State. So this one was kind of weird. We're going hard after him with 700. He's in our hometown. Outside of us, other team builder teams, Camu, Midland State, Uba. Not really going hard after Oliver Price. He was actually injured in week number 7 for high school. So don't really know how long he's out for, but he is hurt. Only 21 catches, 372 and 2 scores. More of a grinder type of player. He's not going to wow you. He's not going to be a guy that takes over a game. He's just more of a role type of player, something that we like, something that we need a little bit. So that's something to watch out for with Oliver Price. Is he going to go to Iowa State? Come on, man. Be with your brother. Jamal Young, the free safety, goes to South Carolina. From Omaha, Nebraska, you would have thought that Nebraska State would have been in the top 5 on this list, and it just wasn't meant to be. Out of all the schools, you're from Nebraska and you're going to go all the way out east to play at South Carolina? Come on, man. Come on. You're 3-star. But apparently South Carolina really needed his services, and they must have threw the kitchen sink at him. 28 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, an interception that was returned for 66 yards and a touchdown. So he's a good athlete, role player, should be good for South Carolina in the future, but I was really hoping that we would get him in our Big 12 dynasty here. ACU loves to go after custom recruits, so we are looking at ACU's board currently. Gavin Garland, 42 catches, 617, and 6 touchdowns. He's a good one. A very, very good one. He's number 2 behind Kentrell Huggins, but down a grand for ACU, and nobody else is really that close. Midland State has a good opportunity to land Gavin Garland, but trailing behind Notre Dame. This could be the week where Garland declares for Notre Dame, because he has a visit this week in week number 8. Is he going to last? That's the question. I hope to God that Notre Dame does not seal the deal for Gavin Garland in week 8. Next custom recruit, Antonio Tacalande. Ardmore was going after this guy, but he locked us out eventually, and the only team builder teams he's looking at, Denver Tech, ACU, and the Battlehawks. And of course, he's looking like he's also going to join Gavin Garland into going to Notre Dame. Visit. He's also going to week 8. ACU, Denver Tech, week 10, week 11. So that's the next question for Antonio Tacalande. Is he going to last? And I hope he does. 18 solo tackles at defensive tackle, 12 tackles for losses, 7 sacks, a pass defended, and a forced fumble. Great player, can do a lot. I hope we can get him. Next up, Antonio Miles Jr. What is this? We talked about this a long time ago in our last update, but Florida State's in the lead for this guy, the #1 strong safety. He's a beast. An absolute beast. He's from Georgia. He's right in ACC type of country, SEC type of country. Doesn't really like the teams out west a little bit. We've got Shreveport down in 4th. We got ACU, a powerhouse school that he's not interested in. He wasn't interested in any Big 12 teams from the get-go. He was really loving Florida State and Tennessee, and it looks like that's exactly where he's going to land. But the good thing is that Shreveport has a visit in Week 10, so maybe he holds out. Maybe it doesn't have to come to that visit in Week 13 for Florida State. Then again, Shreveport's got a long way to go in the recruiting for Antonio Miles Jr. I can assure you this, they are going all out after this guy. But you see up on the board, Tennessee and Florida State only just a sliver away from committing Miles Jr. Nebraska State, surprisingly in the lead for Nail Cotton. Nobody's going after this guy. He's just kind of mulling his time here a little bit, trying to mull all of his options. That's exactly what he's doing, because look at the board here. Hasn't really committed either way to any school, especially to team builder schools. Odessa State, McAllen, Nebraska State. I know my brother really wants Cotton. He thinks he can be really good. Kind of that John Tavius Nichols type of role for Cotton. Currently his numbers are 88 attempts, 620 yards, rushing 7 yards per carry right now. 7 rushing touchdowns. This is actually in his JUCO season. Not his JUCO season, sorry. This would be his sophomore year in the community college that he must be at. So that's his rushing stats right there. He can catch the football, 29 catches, 386, 4 touchdowns. He can do it all. He's an all-purpose back. Should be good for Nebraska State if they can land a guy like that. Levi Rabal, no. Omaha, Nebraska, he looks like he's going to Nebraska. You can't, it doesn't seem to work here. Week 12, Nebraska State has a visit, but is it going to matter? Because by that time, he might end up committing to the bigger school, the big brother school in Nebraska, the Cornhuskers. Currently, his numbers are 20 solo tackles, 7 tackles for losses, and 3 sacks. Not the greatest numbers for a defensive tackle, but I think at his size at 6'3", 290, that's kind of what he's going to do. I mean, he's going to try to pass rush. He's going to try to do it all a little bit. With that size, you're athletic enough to stop the pass. You're athletic enough to stop the run. It's not like you're just going to be a guy that's just going to clog holes up and gaps up. So I think Levi Rabal is going to be a good player, but I think he's going to rival Nebraska. In the last update, we talked about Stafford Finkbeiner. This guy ended up committing to Texas A&M, which was kind of a surprise. I mean, he didn't give any of these other teams a chance. Like, out of Oklahoma, he strictly wanted to go to Texas A&M, which was unfortunate because his numbers are pretty good, albeit the interceptions. 13 touchdowns, 7 picks, 5 touchdowns on the ground, 79% completion percentage, and 1,901 yards on 204 attempts. So Stafford Finkbeiner is definitely the prototypical pocket passer. I just don't think that Odessa State really interested in him all that much for being from Oklahoma. Nebraska State, I don't know how he would fit in with that offense. They like to throw the football, but they also like to get their quarterback moving. And at 6'4", 220, I don't think Finkbeiner can really move all that much, even though he does have those 5 touchdowns, only 155 yards. He can move a little bit, but not like Shinosky, like they like to do. And I think Shreveport, he's just kind of scared away with all that running that they do. Another Austin to get an update from. What do you know? Big 12 team builder. It's all about the Austins these days. Braxton Austin Jr. It's only down to Texas by 600 points each for Broken Arrow and Amarillo. So hopefully those two teams can vault and go grab a good player like this. You know, Braxton Austin Jr. hasn't done too much. I don't think he's being utilized a whole lot out in Monterey High School. 19 receptions, 200 yards, no touchdowns for Braxton Austin Jr. At 6'5", 237, and in high school, that's pretty beast status. Maybe the guy can't move a whole lot. Maybe he's taking his senior season off. I don't really know what's going on there, but you know, gotta produce. Gotta produce. I think that's why Denver Tech is kind of shading off a little bit at 1,000. I think that maybe he's looking at it like, man, I'm going to have to go to a smaller school like Broken Arrow or Amarillo, because at least then there's not a whole lot of pressure on me. I think that that's really what's going on. Although that theory might be debunked, because he is wanting to go to a big-time program like Texas to be the starting tight end in the future. Actually, one of my favorite players in all of this custom recruiting class is the linebacker Derek Burns. 30 solo tackles, 2 tackles for losses, 1 defended, and 2 interceptions. So he's going to make you tackles. And he's going to play good coverage where teams are not going to throw his way. 77 overall right now as a 4-star, 6'4", 245. He's kind of like Jordan Lashley, where he can come up and make tackles. I mean, he's got a good size for a linebacker, but he's more that coverage type, I guess you would say. And Camu is in the race for him. I hope that he ends up going to Kansas A&M. I really do. I think that they could use a guy like this, kind of turn the program around a little bit. They need a player for the future that's going to be a leader on that defense. Little Rock is just going to be stacked if they end up getting him. Derek Burns would have to be sitting behind some people, I feel like, and he would be able to step right in at Kansas A&M and just play right away. But I can assure you, if Little Rock's putting 700 on him, Camu's putting 700 on him, I hope that they get him. We saw Cameron Shelnut recruited last week. The preview video ended up committing over to Kansas A&M, and it wasn't even close. Really wasn't. Ardmore, ACU, we didn't have a chance. Cameron Shelnut wants to go to Kansas A&M and be that leader type that we hope Derek Burns ends up being for Camu if he decides to go there. But looking at his number as well, only 5 pancakes, 2 sacks allowed through 7 weeks. So this guy is going to be a good one at 6'7", 306. Camu finally addressed their offensive line, and they got a good one in Cameron Shelnut. And last but not least, we have Crate Games' custom recruit Jarvis Humphrey from New Orleans, Louisiana. If you guys have not checked out Crate Games' little mini-series, Road to Glory with Jarvis Humphrey, please do so. It is in the upper right-hand corner and in the description and pinned comment as well. Please go check that out. He does a good job at creating storylines for this quarterback and all of the other Road to Glory players that he does on his channel. And, you know, Jarvis, what's up, man? I mean, Shreveport, you can easily go in as the freshman next season and be the starter. I personally believe that. I think he could easily do that. A lot of upside. Plus, the team could protect you. Running the football, that's what they like to do. You can kind of groom into that role a little bit. You'd fit in nicely with Shreveport. I don't know much about McAllen. You're not much of a runner. You're more of a pocket passer. It's 6'6", 235. He can run a little bit, but he's no Cam Newton. And LSU in the lead right now, and that sucks. That sucks mostly because I really was hoping that Shreveport would really make a push for this guy at 700 points every single week. It doesn't seem like it's going to be enough to get him over the top to recruit and to commit over to Shreveport. McAllen's got a visit in week 12. Luckily, though, for Shreveport, they have a visit in week 13. LSU at week 14. So that is really going to help out Shreveport. The question is that going to do enough down by 1,065 points before he ends up committing and making the decision? Because, I mean, look how close these 3 schools are. Slivers away. Slivers away. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But if you guys want to see an update on Jarvis Humphrey and his numbers and how he's playing in his senior season, please go check out Crate Games. And it's a good one. It's a good one. That's it. We're done. Week number 8 preview video is wrapped up. Good job. Thanks for tuning in. Drop a like if you ended up liking the video. And if you are new to the channel, consider subscribing if you have not done so already. I would thoroughly appreciate it. And drop a comment. Drop a comment. Let us know what you think about the series. What do you think about who you got? Who you got for week number 8? You got McAllen, you got Shreveport. It's a big game. You think Ardmore is going to pull off yet again a little mini upset over Denver Tech? I wouldn't even call it an upset. We're national champions from last year, baby. I think we're going to end up getting the dub. See you guys on Saturday. As always, peace.